Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. We're going to quickly jump into CoinGecko here. We're currently sitting at a $1.86 trillion market cap, currently at 1.6%. Looking at the top 10 here, Bitcoin sitting at 38,800, Ethereum sitting at 2,794, Tether's Tether, Binance Coin sitting at 387, Solana sitting at 111, Cardano sitting at $1.08, XRP sitting at 62 cents, almost 63, Polkadot sitting at 1981, and Terra sitting at 51.90. Still a lot of green in the market, which is a positive for our 24-hour period. Coming over here to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, we're currently at a 26. So we talked about this in our earlier video. We've been in this range for some time. It's nice to see us outside of the extreme fear range, but who knows? We can quickly dump back into the extreme fear range, with just the slightest negativity within the market. And as we know, we've been dealing with a lot of fear, FUD, and uncertainty within the market in general. So starting with CNBC here. So we're just coming over here kind of looking at the markets. S&P's kind of flatline, almost up 1%. Nasdaq's almost up 1%. Looking at the crypto market here, XRP 2.81, Ethereum 4%, yada yada yada. So as you can see, we're kind of just either flatline or barely moving. But green is green, positivity is positivity, especially within these super fearful and dark moments we've been in the market in the past couple of months. But we talked a lot in our previous video about, what's truly been impacting, our markets, not just the crypto market, but, the regular, stock market. So a lot of the stuff, inflation, Jerome Powell and the Fed, the uncertainty with what they're going to do with their, tapering and interest rate hikes and just their plan with that. Plus a lot of the negativity that's going on with, liquidations, institutions and traders selling off out of fear, and just a lot of uncertainty. You have, the pandemic stuff and just all these other variables. But we were also talking about, recently in the past, I want to say like 2 weeks, a week, whenever the quarterly earnings had came out from a lot of these, major companies, there's been some positivity come back. And as you can see, there has been, more of those investors that had sold off have been buying back in because there has been some positivities. And, looking at the calendar for, the upcoming quarterly earnings reports, we can anticipate maybe there could be some more good if these major companies are coming back and they're going to report some positivity within the market. Another big one is just like the whole the job, what we're looking like as unemployment. If that comes back as a positive piece of data, then that can also induce some positivity within the market, which can increase our prices and what we're dealing with. I wanted to touch on this article here. This was back in January 10th, but it's talking about like higher interest rates upset stock market and as hot inflation tests the Fed. So the key points from this article, it says U.S. stocks resumed their sell-off on Monday as government bond yields continue to trek upward, a hint that many traders are certain the Fed will soon hike rates. Traders say the pressure of the U.S. stocks isn't thanks to materials concerned about the economy, but portfolio repositioning for higher borrow costs. Now you have the potential for interest rates, which appear like they might not start going up until June. So yada, yada, yada. There's just a lot of information, a lot of guessing going on when nobody really knows, what Jerome Powell and the Fed are actually going to do. They came on and had their interview answering questions, and they were pretty much talking like, hey, we're going to, wait and see, kind of kick the can further down the road and reevaluate. They don't even have a set concrete plan as to how they're going to attack inflation and what's going on within our market. So my thing is like, based on what we've seen the past few weeks and months, like isn't all this priced in based on how much, fear and how much blood that's been happening with all the sell-offs and stuff? Don't you think it's been priced in? I mean, they've already told us that, they plan on, having some sort of interest rates increases, throughout 2022, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or whatever the percentage is. Don't you think it'd be priced in the market? But, with that being said, like there's still a lot of people selling off as if it's new news. So that's kind of what's kind of been throwing our markets for, kind of putting us through the ringer. But as you can see, though, I mean, if you would look at the data, whether you look at Glassnode or you look at your particular, TA guy or your fundamental analysis, person that you kind of look up to when it comes to your investment strategy, looking in the markets. Depending on what they say, as you can see, there's been a lot of accumulation that's been happening within our market in general, just in the crypto market, whenever there comes to Bitcoin and other digital assets. So even though there's a lot of fear, FUD, uncertainty in the market, we've been bleeding a lot. We've been in this range for some time, and prices are down. There's still accumulation going on, still adoption happening. So whenever we see all these negative articles or negative charts, whatever case is, it's literally just like just trying to deter us from what lies ahead. It's just cloudy in our vision right now in the grand scheme of things. I wanted to touch on these Biden executive order posts that Digital Asset Investor had put up. So we talked about some of the negativity and fear that came from the article where they were like, oh, Biden's coming after cryptocurrency with this executive order action. There was a lot of fear and sell-off that's been happening because of it. So I wanted to listen into what he recorded with this Fox Business stuff. So let's take a listen in.
It's down more than 20% since the start of 2022, leading many investors to fear that we might be at the precipice of the so-called crypto winter, the prolonged period of just watching these currencies do nothing. All right, could help be on the way, though, from an unlikely source. The Biden administration is said to be preparing for the release of an executive order on cryptocurrency this February, which we all know is tomorrow, right, that will offer government-wide strategies for digital assets. And while there are still many unknowns surrounding this order, Perry-Ann Boren, founder and president of the Chamber of Digital Commerce, is here to anticipate what the directive might include. And Perry-Ann, you are a crypto expert, but I want our viewers to know that you also worked as a legislative analyst in the House of Representatives. With that background, what do you think? What can you guess this executive order is going to look like?
Well, what's been reported in the media so far is that it's going to outline a government-wide strategy for blockchain. And what we're expecting to see is a broad-based set of recommendations that are focused on coordinating various government agencies to set a policy framework for this technology. Now, just to give you a little bit more context, at the Chamber of Digital Commerce, we have been advocating for a national action plan for blockchain for 3 years in February. So this whole of government approach, it's long overdue, but it's really important that we get the details right. So what we're calling for is we're asking the administration to send a clear statement of support for the development of this technology in the United States. And there's so much on the line here. For us to maintain, for the U.S. to maintain its preeminence in this sector, what we need is a light touch policy framework that does no harm, but also provides regulatory clarity to investors in the industry. We have a lot to lose if we get this wrong and if this innovation is pushed overseas. So the devil is in the detail, but this could be a positive development for the industry.
It's down more than... Well, the attack, or the approach, I should say, it feels like an attack sometimes from the SEC's point of view, at least according to people who are very pro-crypto, has been somewhat haphazard. So any kind of framework would certainly help. But are you getting a sense that President Biden isn't exactly on the same page as Gary Gensler of the SEC, and that maybe President Biden doesn't want to squish down or tamp down this nascent investment, I guess? Some of it is cryptocurrency. Others say they're different kinds of securities. But how do you think he looks at crypto?
So this patchwork of regulatory oversight is something that has developed over many years, and it's something we speak to in our National Action Plan for blockchain. In March of 2013, FinCEN, who's a department within the Treasury, that was the first agency to come out and issue guidance for digital assets and said they would be regulated as currency. And then the IRS came out and said, well, we're going to tax them as property. And now the SEC has jurisdiction over digital assets that are defined as securities. And then you have the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, regulates other digital assets as commodities. So that's 4 legal frameworks that all have very large regulatory requirements if you're defined in those ways. So this whole of government approach to bring coordination in a formal way to that process is something that could help streamline a lot of these regulatory friction points for innovators today.
And you've got to figure that President Biden doesn't exactly love Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin of Russia. So, Putin and Russia have said, we don't want you trading it. You can hold it, but we don't want any mining. We also don't want people getting too involved with it. Xi Jinping despises it. He does not like crypto at all. So you got to figure that maybe America might look at this differently. On top of that, though, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, isn't exactly embracing it right now. Where do you stand on what they have said, which is basically they've called crypto destabilizing capital flows in emerging markets?
To financial stability, it's just bad economic policy. The global monetary and financial system is facing systemic issues. 3 points there. You have inflation around the world at historic highs. There's over a dozen nations today with inflation rates over 20%. The global debt to GDP ratio is over 350%. That means we are spending 350% more than we are producing. And then thirdly, there's a huge financial inclusion gap. According to the World Bank, 1.7 billion adults remain unbanked today. These are just basic economic principles. We can't go on like this forever. Our financial system is changing. Logic tells us it has to. And there's many policymakers here in the U.S. that understand this. They see this. They're looking to digital assets and more specifically Bitcoin to strengthen their economy. Governor Greg Abbott, he's working to make Texas the crypto leading state. Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, he's successfully been able to relocate hundreds of cryptocurrencies into the state of Florida. There's more examples of that. But look, currency is the lifeblood of an economy. Bitcoin is a lifeline to sound money principles.
Well, as we finish, I did want our viewers to know that in 2021, Bitcoin surpassed American Express and Discover in annual payment transaction volume. So it is a thing, folks, and whether you agree with it or like it or hate it or don't understand it, people are using it. So, Perianne, please come back. We're waiting on this directive. Charlie Gasparino's reported that it could come maybe as early as this week, but
So just based on those tweets there and just that information from Fox Business, I mean, all that fear that was coming out about the articles, I mean, no one knew anything. There was nothing set in stone. But it sparked this fear and sell-off within the market that people were anticipating it was going to be something completely negative. Do you think, with, the midterm elections and, legacies on the line, do you think that they're going to try to stifle and hinder this innovation, this technology, especially when you have, like 30 to 50 or 50 plus million people and residents that are highly in this space and that value this space? Do you think you're going to want to go against all those votes? It just doesn't make any sense. And then especially not even that, a bigger thing is the whole, the U.S. being behind, everybody else when it comes to adoption. Like, do you think the U.S. is really going to want to, continue to, shoot their own foot off and stay behind, the ever-changing, dynamics when it comes to, the crypto market and allow other countries to just completely blow us out of the water? I just can't get behind that. But she brought up some great points that I wanted to put up. She was talking about the four-leg frameworks. You have all these different sectors within the government that have a specific view of how cryptocurrencies are and how they should be regulated. So that confusion there, we need to create some sort of general consensus and come to an understanding and a fair agreement and clarity to regulate this space. And then she's talking about this is long overdue. We need to make sure we get it right before we, just throw out anything. And then the reporter was talking about, financial inclusion, how they were talking about there's 1.7 billion plus adults that are unbanked. It's unacceptable. So this technology can truly help change that dynamic and change that statistics. And then one of the big things that they talked about is the reporter, she said, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it, whether you believe it or not, this is a thing. So we've been saying this for years and we truly believe in it. Us that's been in the space and been investing, this is a thing and it's happening. So you're either going to get on board or you're going to get left behind. And that's just the reality of it is you're going to get blockbustered. And we all know what happened to Blockbuster. But long story short, I just kind of wanted to bring that up when it came to this Biden executive order stuff. And until we know the specific details, it's all just speculation and a bunch of guessing. So we just kind of wait and see what happens. Is it going to be positive for us or is it going to be negative? Time will tell. So to end on two positive things here. So India proposes 30% tax on crypto and NFTs income. So it says India on Tuesday announced plans to launch a digital currency by next year and tax cryptocurrencies and NFTs as the country moves closer to recognizing cryptocurrencies as legal tender in the world's second largest internet market. So was it just a year ago that they were ban crypto, ban Bitcoin, but now look at this. I mean, it's happening. They were talking about it being a ripple effect or a domino effect. One country comes out and tries to make Bitcoin and crypto legal tender, and it just happens. Boom, boom, boom. You have mayors and cities and countries just buying into this narrative, seeing the writing on the wall, knowing where this thing is going. So this is massive that this comes out, and it's crazy how it comes out when we're in this extreme fear and fear range. Trying to ignite some positivity within the market. But hey, adoption is adoption, and this is what we need. It's happening day by day. So another thing to end on, so this was happening in the news heavily in the past couple of days. It says Solana ecosystem wallet, Phantom, which is the Phantom wallet, raises 109 million. Phantom, the cross-platform Solana wallet built for DeFi NFTs, achieved unicorn status after attaining a 1.2 billion valuation. So it says, in addition to funding round, Phantom also announced Monday that its mobile app is now available for iOS devices. So quickly, I'm just letting you know, I've used MetaMask and Phantom, and I love the Phantom wallet. I had literally no issues with it. It's streamlined, it's fast, it's a beautiful, I used the web-based one. I haven't got the iOS one yet, but it's streamlined, it looks great, it flows well, the user experience is phenomenal. So it says Phantom currently boosts over 2 million monthly active users, having doubled its user count in less than 3 months. Much of that growth is tied to Solana ecosystem adoption, especially around non-fungible tokens or NFTs. Phantom provides support to Solana Art, Solana-based NFT marketplace that currently ranks 8th in terms of trading volume. So when it comes to consensus, MetaMask, this is a huge competitor. And to be honest, we don't want a monopoly when it comes to this space. We don't want, one exchange that's extremely dominant over everything. And we don't want just, one wallet that you can use that's the best wallet. We want, healthy competition. So now you have a Phantom wallet that's, exploding in user base and utility. The user interface is great, competing with consensus MetaMask, which is healthy for the space. So this is absolutely massive. And I'm glad that, Solana, the ecosystem is growing massively. The wallet is great. I use it personally. I'm glad that this is a part of our our tool chest that we utilize within the crypto space. But that's kind of what's going on in the market. That's kind of my take. Just wanted to throw out some of the negatives and talk about why it's there, and just my opinion on why it's there and kind of where we're heading and a lot of the positivity that's going on behind the scenes. Just know there's a lot of adoption happening day by day within this dark time. This fearful uncertainty time. Hey, there's still adoption happening, and we are so early to the party. We're sitting at $1.86 trillion market cap. The party is just getting started. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.